Hello, everyone. We're trying a new technology solution here, so let me know if you can hear me or if you can't hear me. Welcome to the Durham Low Carb Support Group, and I can actually see some of the comments here, so please comment in if you can hear me or you can't hear me. No amplifier tonight, so it's going to be just me talking. So I hope you can hear me. And great. Welcome. Now, if Casey Durango is normally here, sounds fine. Oh, thanks, Marlene. How are things in Charleston, outside Charleston? In fact, Jackie Eberstein was just down there with Conrad. Had a great time in Charleston. Great. All right, thank you. Thanks for all of the comments about the voice, the volume. I'm Dr. Eric Westman, and normally Casey Durango is here with me with Go Keto with Casey. She can't make it tonight. She says hello, and so it's just going to be me. So no one's going to be giving me a hard time like Casey, but you can give me a hard time. So I just finished a day today at Duke in the clinic, and it was interesting. There were new people and follow-ups, and I've been at Duke for now over 30 years. I have just got that in the mail, my 30-year award, so I got that up on my wall, and still very happy doing a clinical practice of carbohydrate restriction. It's a subset of obesity medicine using prescription strength diets. I got into this because two of my patients did this 24 years ago, and I asked, what did you do, and was curious and learned more about it. We are known for one of the two groups in the US to start doing studies about what was called the Atkins diet, low carb diets, and now today you've probably heard of keto. And the lowest carb version of a low carb diet is a keto diet because it involves ketogenic metabolism. So that's, if you're learning for the first time, keto is not a food. There are no keto foods, even though they're branded that way now at the store. Keto is a metabolic state. It's a metabolic state of fat burning. And you don't have to drink ketones and fats and oils to be ketogenic. You just have to keep the carbs super low. I've had people visit from other places, can't say where, but who were still just kind of shocked that the doctors that they talked to locally did not know about this. We're actually kind of antagonistic about it, even though the A1C, the diabetes, went from 12 to 5.5, meaning this fellow normalized his diabetes treatment or reversed his diabetes, but still the doctor, well, you're going to have diabetes forever. And you have to understand that most people don't stay on a program like this. So the doctor may have a point in that if you reverse your diabetes, but then you go back to eating carbs, the diabetes comes back, depending on how many carbs you're eating. So we had that discussion of, this individual lost weight, reversed diabetes, but then the diabetes came back because he started eating carbs again, and, in a way that his body couldn't handle it. So that's going to be a theme, that you want to match the carbs in your diet to your metabolism. Some people have to be super low the rest of their life to avoid a condition. Some people just have to be super low to get to a goal, and then you might add back carbs if you want to. What we've learned over the last 20 years is you really don't have to add back carbs. You can still be healthy without eating them. So anyway, that is, I'm happy in a clinical practice still, and in fact, so we were just chatting beforehand. Someone emailed me quickly from another country and said, can you send me page 4? I watched your video, and can you send me page 4? So I got the email. I answer my own emails. I don't have a staff to do that. So I sent back this generic reply of, thank you for your interest. I can't be your doctor, but here's some resources. And within a couple of minutes, I got an email back. I can't believe you replied, and So I thought, okay, let me do one more reply, and it's yes, this is really Dr. Westman, and yes, we do fix people one at a time. So good luck. So no, someone said, oh, I saw you on TV. And I'm not on TV. I'm not on network television. It's just that his internet computer was hooked up to his TV. So he saw me on TV. And then someone said recently, it's just kind of funny because I'm not a television person. Although it's time for keto and low carb to be on television, it's way past time for that. But the YouTube makes it look like you're on television if you put it on a big television. If you're watching me on your phone, I'm only this big. And no, I didn't create this method, which is just one page. It's known today as lazy, dirty keto because you don't have to monitor, you don't have to put things in an app, and you get to, if you want to eat at McDonald's, you don't have to get the super clean food. I was talking to someone today, she said keto is so expensive because you got avocado oil and sent it away for all of these super clean keto things. And I said, you don't have to do that. If it's not in your budget, just go get the regular oils. She said, I got rid of my canola oil. And I said, no. You can use canola oil. You can use oil. And I'm worried about having to put margarine when I'm somewhere. I said, no, that's a minor thing. This keto worry, internet keto worry about oils and butters is a relatively minor thing because the major thing is kind of keeping the carbs low and being in a keto metabolism. And that is so healing. The fat burning, which is keto metabolism, is a healing kind of condition. So I'll get to the comments soon. So we usually open it up to anyone who wants to come down and tell their story. Let's see, we have about 150 people watching on 8 different venues through StreamYard. And so if you want to have your YouTube debut, come on back. This is a friendly audience. Yeah, please, come on down. Or come on over. I think that's the price is right. Come on down. I'm great. How are you?
I'm good.
Now, can you see yourself?
I can see myself.
You have to be kind of in these circles.
I'm a little short too, so I hope the internet audience can see me.
Perfect.
Hi, I'm Janelle. So I've been on your plan for 2 months. I actually have an appointment tomorrow. I had been watching my sister. I have a twin sister back there in the audience, and I've been watching her lose weight because she had been diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, and then subsequently I was, and then but she had started going low carb, not strictly keto, but low carb, and the weight just started dropping off, and I kept making all these excuses, like I can't give up sugar, I can't give up these things, I don't even cook, those kinds of things. So I came to see you because my doctor made me go see you actually, and so I came in. I think I was making the same excuses. I can't do this. I can't do that. But
then I looked at you and say, "So you don't want to be here?"
Yeah, you pretty much did. You said,
"My doctor wants
it's
to be here."
Your choice or not. You can do it or you can not do it." And so I said, "You know what? I'm going to do it." And so the next day, I didn't throw anything away. I didn't have a binge day. I didn't do any of those things. I just stopped eating the sugar and stopped eating the almonds and everything else. And fruit was actually easy because I didn't really eat a lot of fruit anyway. But I did I dropped 20 pounds in the 2 months that I
That's great.
I was feeling a little like, that's just not enough. I have so much weight to lose. Why am I not losing more weight?
That's above average.
I was feeling like, no, No, 2 months. I had done the 6-week body makeover when that was a fad. I don't know if anyone remembers.
Oh, yeah, I
that
did
thing.
that one.
I think I had done like 40 pounds on that in 6 weeks, but I was much younger. That was a good 20 years ago. So, I think though that what you were saying earlier about the fast food and stuff, that's where I sort of hit a roadblock. And that's kind of why I came to the meeting today, because I was finding so much of the food, even Subway. I went and had a protein bowl at Subway, and then I looked at the carbs because I still count my macros. I know you say we don't have to do that, but I do. But I looked and I said, why are there so many carbs in the Subway steak? What in the world? What's happening? It's the dextrose or the maltodextrin or something, and they're adding sugar to some of these things that you don't even know they're adding sugar to. So I said, okay, I will cook. Fine. It took me kind of to that. So I'm still, I still go out, and I will say that for a moment, and this is for the audience out there too, for a moment I got a little afraid to eat. I did. I will admit that I was just not wanting to eat anything because I was nervous about that. But I did not go into the keto sites looking for answers. I said I'm just going to go back to page 4. I'm going to go back to the list, and I'm going to follow what's in there. The weight started coming off again because I had sort of a block eating out too much.
What fast food place did you go to?
So I went to Subway, and then and then I stopped doing that. And then I went.
Wait a second. So
Yeah.
A lot of people eat at Subway.
I know, but for me, it just seemed to I would stall, and I'd go back through my mind, what did I do? What did
you eat at Subway?
I had the protein bowl.
So what's in the protein bowl?
So it's it's steak,
Hold
then
on.
and then whatever veggies you want. So lettuce, yeah.
Well,
So
what veggies do you want?
I chose lettuce. I chose tomatoes. Yeah, it was probably too many veggies. The peppers. I pretty much every veggie except for onions is what I use.
So remember, over the whole day,
Yeah.
if you follow the 20 gram or less,
Exactly.
the vegetables should be less than a fistful or
Yeah.
a cupful of all the vegetables you eat.
Right, and that probably was that because but then
But then that's your veggie.
Yeah,
for the
that's
day.
my veggies for the entire day, exactly. So that
Oh, that sounds right. So I don't
Yeah.
think there's carbs in the steak.
there
I
are,
think
but it's
Hang on.
yeah.
If you look at the nutrition facts,
Mhm.
now every company is different, but when I look at some of these companies, they include the vegetable in the carb count for the bowl.
Okay,
So that they don't break out how much is from the steak,
yeah.
how much is from the veggie. I can't imagine they add carbs to steak.
Yeah, I think they just sweeten it, and that's what I was noticing. But you're
Is it
probably
really
right.
sweet?
Did you take dressing on it?
No.
Yeah.
That's the only place I would think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, so you got to limit the vegetables, and
Right.
that's a common
Mhm.
thing that it's hard for some people to do because in other plans you eat as many vegetables
Right.
as you can, But or a place near me, the Firehouse sells, basically has something you don't get to choose your vegetables. They give you the meat on the lettuce, so maybe there might be a different sub place.
Yeah,
but,
different subways.
or just get the meat, yeah.
It says a steak and cheese protein bowl, 12 grams of carbs, 6 grams of sugar,
Yeah, and so does that
21 grams of protein.
the
Oh, wait a minute,
vegetables?
that's the Black Forest.
Yeah, well,
Yeah, I wouldn't get the ham because that's sweet too. That's
Chicken one is 11 grams of carbs.
but the protein bowl might include the other items in their
yeah, all
calculation.
the vegetables.
Yeah,
Like if
I
you
think
look at-
it's everything.
If you look at the hamburger, for example, the hamburger place, they include the bun and the burger
Right.
in the carb.
I definitely spend a lot of time at burger joints when I do that. I do that more than
Good.
Subway now. So,
Good, well,
but I'm pretty, I'm happy with the progress that I've made, and took my daughter out for Halloween last night. I was not interested in any of the candy. I just
Good for you.
a year
that
ago, did you have candy?
Oh my gosh, I took her out for me, last year. When she was 5, I dragged her to all the houses, and I could have the candy because she didn't want
It must
it.
have been not as good candy.
Oh no, it was all my favorites because
That's
chocolate is
fantastic.
my favorite.
Good for you.
Thank you.
Thanks for sharing. Let's see, audio not great. Okay, well, we'll try to pick it up. And
She might be echoing, but she's so far from it.
yeah, okay. Let's see. Oh, ketones is great. Oh, of course, there's some spammers, or whatever you call it, trolls. That means we made it big. Made the big time.
Just keep them under the bridge.
Pardon?
Keep them under the bridge.
Keep them under the bridge. Yeah, the trolls. Don't have Kyle to delete them this time, but thank you. Anyone else want to share their story or trials and tribulations? I seem to remember last time we were going to talk about the holidays, and it's kind of that time of year. First one being Halloween. And yeah, after a couple months of not having sugar and starch, foods don't tug at you, even Krispy Kreme. I mean, the donuts, you could be around donuts and they're not calling your name. And so it's really not willpower we're talking about. It's just not being hungry. It's a fundamentally different feeling from the, oh, look at that food. Oh no, I can't have it sort of. It's once you're a good fat burner, you're in ketosis or close. You don't really have to be in ketosis. The hunger just goes down and you eat less pretty much automatically. So with the holidays, a lot of people do kind of get sucked back into eating the junk foods. And actually the language is changing. Remember, I grew up talking about junk food. You don't hear that so much. And definitely not in the medical literature, junk food. Even though there are books about that, like for children. The Berenstain Bears books, remember that series? Has, no more junk food. And there's a child who has a tantrum when they can't get the junk food at the checkout. But I think it's important to teach. The new term is called ultra-processed foods. And so what I'm seeing is that the world's experts, can't say carbs. That would be like, admitting something. The world's experts can't say carb and insulin because that would mean they're not saying calories in, calories out. But they can agree that ultra-processed foods are bad. So now it's what is an ultra-processed food, right? People come to me worried about the deli meat, the bologna, because it's processed. No. That's not ultra-processed food. Ultra-processed food is the Cheetos, Doritos, the food, the Cheerios, the boxes and bags of things that are really engineered so that you can't stop eating them. And when you look at how these companies are developing foods, that's what they're doing. It's good business if you eat more and more and more and more. And I have to imagine the companies are just kind of laughing because everyone's carrying more food than they ever need because they bought it and they ate it and their profits go up and they're carrying around extra food. Well, it's time for you to start using that food that you once had, and you can do that by cutting the carbs out. So ultra-processed food to me is the candy bar, although I can find some nice chocolate. It doesn't have to be dark chocolate. That's an interesting internet keto thing. Oh, it has to be 90% or 80% cocoa. Well, you can dial down the carbs a little bit, but actually I don't like super dark chocolate. It's bitter, and I grew up with Milky Ways and milk chocolate. So you can't have real chocolate and it not be an ultra-processed food, meaning M&Ms. In fact, I prefer the European types of chocolates. They just taste better to me. But I've been doing this 20 years, remember, and I can have just a square or two and stop. If you're early on, and if you found that you can't moderate things, then you want to be sure to stay away from chocolate and chocolate bars and things like that. But so the first, Halloween, when I grew up, we had mounds of chocolate. We bartered for our favorite ones, and for me, that meant anything. you know, and growing up in Wisconsin in the 1960s and 70s, I came out without any teeth in the middle, right? Those are called cavities, you know, and I have fillings. That's not normal. It's not normal to lose your teeth well, wait, it happened to all of us because of the sugar. So now I think that isn't the standard. You have the candy around a couple of days and you pitch it. That's the best way to do it now. If you're faced with you have a family and you just had Halloween, you got the candy, you have it for 2 days and then you just get rid of it. But I remember having it for months. And then I think I confessed here one night that I stole money from my mom's purse to go buy candy. You know, so I was a thief. Anyone else? Oh, good, I'm not alone. My poor mom, I'm sure she knew, but I was all scared, and then I would go down and buy these green apple hard candies, and to kind of get your saliva flowing and all that, and I could eat the whole box. But that's fine, right? No, it's not fine. So Halloween goes. It's come and goes. So now Thanksgiving coming up. So they're really different parameters. I'll talk about, okay, who's in charge of the cooking? Are you in charge or not? If you are, okay, let's say you're in charge. What's the family going to want? What are you going to want? What do you like? Can you, modify some recipes to be more keto friendly, meaning the cauli mashed cauliflower idea, the cauli rice, that's cauliflower rice idea. You can actually keto blank, search for just about everything on YouTube for a recipe. Keto stuffing. You can get stuffing made with pork rinds or some other non-carby sort of thing. Or you can choose to have a taste of all these things yourself. Just make all the things that your family used to have or still wants and have just a taste. If you're early on, it's your first time through the holidays or second time, that's going to be kind of tough to moderate. Moderate meaning you have just the taste and you don't eat the whole serving, right? And if you find that you're not able to moderate ever, then you might want to just stay away from eating that, but have it for the rest of the family. Although there are a lot of people who tell me their family loves the deviled eggs that they started having at the holidays. Or they love the cauli mashed cauliflower. They didn't really even care that it wasn't potatoes, right? So there might be a fear in your mind that someone's not going to want it the way it used to be, but you can kind of fool your family into liking these things. I mean, if you've had broiled Brussels sprouts with butter or bacon on it, I mean, that is just unbelievably good. Almost a little burnt even. Add some Parmesan cheese or some other thing on it. So you might create new traditions as well. Of course, the desserts, you might choose to make the traditional ones, or why not have a cheesecake, pumpkin flavored cheesecake, something like that. Some people adjust the no-bake cheesecake recipe that we hand out in our first handout and just add some pumpkin, and you have to get it to taste right for your own taste buds. But so you can have just a taste, or you could give yourself permission to eat whatever on the holiday. And some people do that, and it's to avoid the guilt, the shame, the stressing of, oh, I'm not going to have it, I'm not going to have it, I'm not going to have it. Oh, I had some more, and oh no, I'm a failure. No, so there can be a psychological damaging experience if you don't give yourself permission. And this is if you have carbs around for Thanksgiving or Christmas or Hanukkah. Now, if you're not in charge of the food, this is fascinating. I mean, I guess I've been doing this so long, or maybe just people just know I'm just going to have the meat and the vegetable. No one gives me a hard time if I don't eat the pie or And I remember Dana Carpenter, who wrote some of the early low-carb cookbooks, had a great blog post that, if someone asks you to eat something, change the subject. So how is Jimmy doing? But here, have my pie. Well, how is Mickey doing? No, have my pie. If you change the subject and someone keeps perseverating to try to push food on you, then they become the weirdo, right? Or the outlier. So there are strategies to kind of avoid the carbs from being given to you, or you can accept the carb. Was it here at this meeting last time where someone said, well, you can make it look like you had a lot by taking a little bit and smushing it around the plate. Right? We talked about that last time. Great idea, never thought of it. So you accept the food, you just have a little bit, you say, oh, I'm so full, this is so wonderful. Or if you're going to someone else's house, you're not in charge of the food, you bring a keto, low carb compatible food. Could be the deviled eggs, the side, the meat, something that you could stick to. If you're going to a dinner like this or a buffet, even the old strategy of pre-gaming a little bit, have some protein before you go, will make you a little more in charge. Have the protein first, not the carby things, and you're going to see that you can resist all of the different foods a little better. But so, just as a warning or as a cautionary tale, I've seen people lose 50 pounds from January to right about this time of year, and then they get sucked back into the carbs. And then the fascinating, I'd love to do some research about this, the space between visits where you get sucked back into carbs, and then you think, I'm supposed to see Dr. Westman or any doctor for weight loss again next week, but I haven't lost weight, I'm so embarrassed. That's when we can help most. When you're in pain, the pain doctor can help you. So so what I'll see if you get sucked back in, and really this is just a matter of being sucked into the foods again. It's the food's fault. It's not your fault. These are designed to be irresistible to humans. So, we're all humans here. Where was I going on that one? Getting sucked back in, 50 pounds during the year, and then regaining the 50 pounds by Easter time. So
Why
it's
do we go back
fascinating.
on so much faster than it's
Why does it
Go back on.
go back
so
on
much
faster than before I get to that,
Okay.
I just want to end with the somber cautionary tale that if you get sucked back in and don't come up for air, months can fly by and you can regain all the weight again. And it's not that the diet didn't work, it's that the food sucked you back in. So you don't blame a pill for not working if you don't take the pill. You don't blame the diet for not working if you're not doing the diet. And that's, I know you have to repeat that to yourself a lot, because I see people, that diet, I can't believe it didn't work for me. Well, tell me more. Well, I lost 30 pounds. Well, did it work? Well, then I regained it. Well, did you stop the diet? Well, of course, yeah. Well, then you don't blame the diet. So now we have all these resources to help you. We have support groups, we have online, we have Facebook groups and Instagram, and probably the person who's going to fix more people than I ever will is Raven Simone of That's So Raven, the Disney star, because she's openly talking about her keto experience and has a huge following. When Raven Simone, That's So Raven, started talking about keto, and I mentioned to my kids, it was like, Dad, you're somebody. Excuse me? Well, you influenced, because I emailed a couple times whether you influenced this movie star. No, it's because it was a Disney star that suddenly I'm somebody. But that's okay. I understand, and I value that. But actually, I have a reminder, so I got to get rid of that. I've published papers. Most academics value that. My children didn't. They had Halloween candy, and then we didn't really know back then how to take away candy the next day or 2 days or one said a week. Well, we could do that now. And then, of course, one of my daughters becomes vegetarian to spite me during our early research days, so I understand how parenting you're in sometimes, you're out some other times. But now that that Disney star has gone keto, I'm going to be in for a long time. Anyway, so it's great to see these other influencers getting involved. Although you want to be careful who you follow. We'll get to that in a second. Back to your point. Why does weight seem to come on faster than it comes off? Yeah. Do you ever watch a clock? I think a lot of it's perception. That you're on a trip, and it seems how are we going to get how far? You want the weight to come off faster, right? So when you want time to go fast, it goes slow, doesn't it? When you want time to go slow, it goes fast. I don't know. I think that's just perception. Although not all weight is fat weight, and so when you come to an obesity medicine clinic like mine, we talk about the different types of weight. Of course, everyone's trying to lose the fat weight, but there's also water weight. And you might notice water weight as puffiness in the finger, the ring being tight, the watch being tight. You might notice water weight in the belly, the pants being snug, or you might notice water weight in the ankle, where the sock leaves an indentation. So it may be that the weight is coming on faster. It seems, well, it is faster, but it's because the water weight goes up. So that you're not adding more fat weight faster, but you're adding water weight faster. Some people notice, and it's different for different people, but some people notice that they lose 5 to 10 pounds in the first week on a keto diet because they're losing so much water and salt. And as a general rule, the larger you are, the more weight you lose on average, just kind of a percentage gain. So if someone comes in and they're small to begin with and they only lose 5 pounds, but it's a large percentage of their body, you have to remember that it's not the number, it's really the percentage of where you started that is the context of the end. But typically I'll see 1 to 2 pounds of weight loss per week reliably with a little extra water weight at the beginning. So your experience 20 pounds in 2 months, 2 months, let's say, is 8 weeks. That's over 2 pounds per week, which is fantastic. I mean, that's above average, not too much. So, there's some new drugs out. I went to the Obesity Medicine Association meeting again. I go there twice a year. This time was in Orlando, Anaheim. It was Disneyland, not Disney World. But there's some new drugs out, especially one for diabetes called Mounjaro. And I remember it because of the mountain Kilimanjaro. Yeah, that's the only way I'd never heard of it, actually. So it's a diabetes drug that now has been studied for weight loss. Because people are using it for diabetes, people are losing weight. Problem is, it works so well, you might not want to eat at all. That's called total fasting. And that's not really a safe way to lose weight. So the medical weight loss doctors are starting to use it, which I think is fine because medical weight loss doctors like me know the boundaries of safe use. We know that you really should have some protein every day and probably shouldn't go under 800 calories a day for very long. I mean, those are the programs that really need medical monitoring. Not that we count calories, we can kind of gauge 1 to 2 pounds per week is a healthy rate of weight loss. But these other people are losing a lot more taking a medicine. So it's kind of just reaffirming to myself that the medical care you get today, no one talks about food, but you go in and you get medications, and the medications, they're too strong. They can be pretty harsh with side effects. And I guess getting back, I've never seen a study that says you gain weight faster than you lose it. But the perception is real. I mean, I kind of believe that. So.
I mean, in my case, it's like you can only lose this much because you're eating, say I'm eating 1,000 calories and my body requires 1,500, then 500 calories a day is kind of what I would lose, or a little bit more from body fat. But when I overeat, I can easily eat 5,000 calories a day. So when I put the weight back on, it's like that, and then I have to struggle for like months together to lose. So that's another reason. If you're really going off the chart, then
the energy imbalance is more out of balance when you're eating more than when you're eating less.
yeah.
Yeah. Although the energy balance is kind of the traditional teaching where you just think about calories, but we think about the hormonal effect of the calorie that you have. So that a carbohydrate calorie, let's say a Snickers bar or Skittles, has a much bigger influence on insulin internally, blood sugar and insulin, than if you had the same amount of calories as protein, right? So calories matter, but the type of calorie has a different hormonal effect. But that's a good point. So when you're gaining weight, you're off the rails, you're probably eating a lot more than the amount you were eating less when you were losing weight. Great mathematical explanation. Are you a mathematician?
I'm a computer scientist.
A computer scientist, there you go.
Yeah, I had a perception in my mind, maybe I'm wrong, but that when you get back eating carbs and you start getting glucose, that the glucose weighs 10 times as much as ketones do in your blood also.
Oh, so the question is the weight of the molecules,
Right.
that the ketones weigh more than the glucose,
Like 10 times as much.
or the other way around.
The,
So
the ketone cowgirl, that's her.
no,
You know what I'm talking about, right?
no, I've never.
That's in her
Dr. Boss.
Oh, Dr. Boz.
Yeah, that's in her literature.
Well, I don't know that that's an important factoid. So when I look at a molecule, a ketone is much smaller than a glucose molecule. But maybe she's talking about the storage form called glycogen. Glycogen is a glucose storage molecule, and ketones really aren't stored.
She's saying that the glucose, the weight of the glucose versus the weight of the ketones when you're burning ketones versus burning glucose, it is about 10 times as much just in your bloodstream.
And why is that important to have a different weight?
Because it makes you weigh, it's going to
Makes you weigh more.
make you weigh more.
Oof. There's only about 5 grams of glucose in the blood. Is that a lot? 5 grams is nothing. 2 pounds is a kid. So I don't know. That sounds like that's in the weeds a little bit. But
I think it's a lot of confusion. I
Yeah,
know
a lot of
that's
confusion.
what I love about Keto Made Simple, because it is simple. You just do this and you don't worry about that and that and that and that and that. Because it's made a huge difference for us.
Yeah.
Just,
good. Yeah, there are a lot of other influencers out there that is great. I want to get to the point that you want to find people to follow who have used keto for the same purposes that you want. So don't follow the keto person in the gym who says you need to eat Back. Oh. Influence. Oh, there we go. We're just talking about programs that push ketone drinks and maybe even ketone pills, things like that. Lots of medium chain triglyceride or coconut oils. No studies on those for in the context of weight loss or even other uses. So it kind of was sort of just entered into this keto internet phenomenon that's there, that the bulletproof coffee guy, you could raise your ketones and cut your hunger out, but where's the protein? Where's the nutrition in a coffee with butter and coconut oil? It has to be really expensive coffee. It is, but
Mold free.
actually, he learned about that in Tibet. Really should give the dude back to the. Anyway, but so the approach that we teach, which is based on protein coming first, is very different than internet keto that's out there in all different forms, and so you have to have protein, not oils and medium chain triglycerides and ketone drinks. And I haven't seen a study where ketone drinks are the primary form of weight loss published in a peer-reviewed journal. And certainly it can cut the hunger down and raise your ketone level, but what about safety? What about side effects? How much less protein do you eat? And that brings me to this one gentleman. I know it's one gentleman and probably 1,000 people, but all he did was drink apple cider vinegar. Because there are influencers who say, buy my apple cider vinegar, and if you're not hungry, don't eat. The apple cider vinegar plummeted the appetite, so he didn't eat anything. So this is not a healthy way to lose weight. So just beware if you're getting internet information, that the source is ideally a clinical person, someone who's treated people in a clinical practice, and then who's used it for the same purpose that you want to use the keto diet for. Yes.
Has anybody lately been doing any studies? Have you seen anything that you feel is really out there, and is legitimate these days?
So there are a couple. I haven't seen studies on medium chain triglyceride or coconut oil, or adding these to a weight loss program.
Keto diets in general?
So keto diets in general they're little, I'd say, preliminary research being done for things like Parkinson's, minimal cognitive dysfunction, which is the pre-Alzheimer's sorts of things. And these studies are, I'd say, preliminary because they're just starting, and it doesn't mean that it works for them yet. I was intrigued to find a study where I saw this some years ago. The idea of, you teach a keto diet, but you have to have some gimmick. You have to have some gimmick to go along with the keto diet. No one will just believe you if you hand out a piece of paper. And I'd say I'm 50-50. 50% will believe me and try it, and they do great. The other 50%, it can't just be that simple, and they don't even try it. But so what if you added in a tonic or a potion or an apple cider vinegar and a keto diet? So we started seeing people. So if I just give you the keto diet, it's going to work. Many of you have done it, have seen it, but a lot of people won't believe that. So you add apple cider vinegar to the keto diet, and it works. It's the placebo effect, or it adds to the appetite suppression too, but not big studies to show the effects in lots of people. And the more and more I go along, the more I value food as medicine. Good food is medicine. So this could be a potent thing to have. It might not just be placebo, right? So now you have the keto monitors, right? So use my ketone monitor and do a keto diet, and it works. Well, it would have worked if you hadn't used the monitor, but you have the monitor because you were told you need the monitor and you want to follow something. So recently there was a paper, and there are a couple companies now giving a breath meter. So we're going to give you a breath meter, and you do a keto diet. And it's worked really well because the meter, you don't have to stick fingers or use the urine as the breath meter. But the meter is part of the program. So it could be placebo effect or the accountability. They know every day that it's working. But there was an interesting study where they didn't really insist on the keto level of carb restriction. They gave a low carb diet and a meter, breath meter, and it worked really well compared to another lesser type of program. You'll start seeing keto plus this, and people who don't know any better will think you need the other thing. And that reminds me of a talk by Georgia Ede where she, the title of the talk was The Psychology of Subtraction. And so most people don't value the program that just takes away junk foods. I mean, you didn't give me anything. Well, I gave you the knowledge that it's the junk food that was killing you. That's not enough. So, you get the apple cider vinegar, the product, the meter, something like that. You're being given something, and oh, by the way, then you don't have junk food and you don't eat all that stuff. But people want to be given something generally, Thus, the keto pill might help you stay more strictly on the keto diet, for example. So I don't mind that those things are out there as long as you're not, paying a fortune. And if you had no money and now you're only buying the stuff that's so expensive, that kind of grates on my sensibilities. But and then I would just want to be sure that there's not something that's going to cause harm in addition to the diet, because then people will say the diet caused harm when really it was the medium chain triglyceride that hadn't been studied. So it's an interesting time where keto has never been so popular, and low carb, and even some of the companies are changing. Over the last 3-6 months, Diet Doctor has come out, the Diet Doctor, dietdoctor.com is a great source of information. He's pivoting to not talk about keto so much. It's low carb, not like LCHF so much, which is low carb, high fat. And actually, it was Andreas who coined that LCHF, low carb, high fat. But they're going now toward foods that cause satiety, to make you full, which of course is mainly the same foods, but the language has changed so that you're not getting the knee-jerk reaction against, low carb, high fat, keto. It always has to be, something new, but they've grown by leaps and bounds over the last several years, which is great. If we can just get people to eat less sugar or drink less sugar. And yes, it's time to throw away the sugar after Halloween, okay? You had your fun, kids. You can blame me. Dr. Westman said, boy, that would be a bad way to get famous, right? Be the Scrooge that gets out there and says, no more Halloween. No more Halloween candy. Any other questions? I'll start filtering some of the.
I just have one question. I know keto works, I know it's the thing to do, but I am just psychologically not able to do it. I just want to be able to jumpstart, and I was wondering if there's some kind of psychological help, or I need more support. That's why I came today, because it's been a week since I met you. Every day, before sleeping, in the morning before I wake up in bed, I think I have to be good, but I'm just not able to do it. So, how do I get started?
So, you got the information correctly?
I know what to do. I'm just not doing it.
But be a little more specific. So, did you get page 4?
I got page 4. I have the thing. I have the food junkies book. I have the food junkies book. I've done the keto diet before. I've lost 30, 40 pounds before. So it's not that I don't know what to do and that I don't believe in it or that it doesn't work for me, but I am.
So this time,
I'm so addicted. I'm not able to give it up. How do I give it up?
So tell us what happened this time.
It's like normally I'm in a good diet, eating healthy, keto way mostly since I started it in 2018 or so. But then if I fall off the wagon, I just tend to binge eat.
Yeah,
And I
no,
can't seem
I'm
to-
sorry.
It's like I can't, I don't know. I start the day right, like I have like 3 or 4 eggs. And then by like lunchtime, some kind of carb seems to seep in. And by the time dinner hits, I've eaten so much junk, I'm not even eating dinner.
Okay.
It's,
So this is the the devil in the details sort of thing. When you get started, there can't be any carbs around the house if you're that level of an addict. So I used to help people quit smoking, and you agree with cigarette smoking is an addiction?
no,
Yeah.
I definitely think this is worse than.
So my people I would help quit smoking, they would find the cigarette that's in the old purse that's up in the attic if they were craving. I mean, so if you have carbs around the house and you're a sugar addict, it's not going to work.
So just go ahead and clean your house. All
Yeah.
you have to do.
It's called decarbing the house. Yeah. And then knowing that, well, so this is where the chaining of, so who bought the carbs? Well, it was my husband who brought, well, okay, that's a different issue. Or if you're living alone and you bought them, and then we just got to say, look, shop on the outside of the store, or don't even shop. Just go to fast food and have the burger and no bun. I mean, I'll go to a local barbecue place and get pounds of the brisket. Oh my Lord, I mean, if you like that, you get what you like. You don't have to have carbs around the house. I mean, that's so people used to come to Durham. Well, there's one program left where there used to be 3 programs. At any given moment, there were about 500 people paying $2,000 a week to come to Durham to not eat much. These were, these fat farms, weight loss programs, residential weight loss programs. And they faded away. The recession, a couple of recessions over the last few years, there's only one remaining place called Structure House. Started by a psychologist, Jerry Mazzante, and he didn't, in the early books, and even today, they don't quite address sugar addiction. They'll allow you to moderate things. But some people need to be removed from their environment, not only decarbing your house, but just get away from New York City, come to Durham. But then the tough thing there is you got to go back home. And a lot of people will be good here and then relapse back home because the carbs are around. So you have the knowledge that, yes, this is an addiction. And now, were there strategies in the Food Junkies book? I want to mention Dr. Vera Tarman's book, Food Junkies. She also has a podcast that's excellent called Food Junkies. And so, as I learned, that you may need to practice strict avoidance of all carbs, just for a few days. Other thoughts?
I don't know if this will help you or not. It's helping me when I get off like that, the way I get myself back on is I'm looking at it as a 3-day cycle. In other words, if I can just stay there 3 days, I'll lose all the cravings. There's usually about
Very true. If I can't stick to it for 3 days, I'm back on the program already. Like,
So the advice is to just focus on 3 days.
focus on 3 days. Okay, I got one's behind me. I'm going to 2 left. I know I can do this now.
okay.
And I only 1 day left, and then all of a sudden you'll cut it like feed off a lot of waterways and feeling good, and you're like, I've been sugar's poison. I don't want that.
Okay.
So I would also focus on food you love, not just like food you love. And then it becomes less of another egg. I can't believe, I don't want another egg. I'm gonna have more carbs. I heard that a lot. So some people can eat the same thing every day. Some people need to rotate. That's an individual thing. But so what would be on that list of foods? What's something you love?
Cheese.
Cheese. Okay. Okay.
I'm a vegetarian, so there's no meat, so egg and cheese.
Okay. Did you like eggs? In
I
different
like
forms?
eggs.
Hard boiled, soft boiled.
hard boiled with, cream cheese most of the time. Soft boiled with just salt and pepper is good.
Have you
Or
ever
just like
tried
scrambled
that egg
cheese.
pudding you can make in a steamer? It's just
An egg
eggs
pudding
and
in a
water,
steamer.
Really? Egg pudding.
but it sounds awful.
It's like
Steam it, and it's like a flan
Oh,
or a
A
custard.
flan, yeah,
Flan,
Yeah.
flan,
flan.
And you
yeah,
can
I
make
will
it, you
Google
can make
that
it,
and see.
you can make it savory, or you can make it a little sweet.
but that would be a different consistency, because it doesn't feel egg-like. It's real easy to make, and it's egg and water.
And so some of this is a strategy based on what you used to eat. So are you a sweet sugar or
Both.
savory
It's like
bread?
sugar salt,
bread
sugar salt, like, when you're eating too much sugar, now you're craving the chips, and then you're eating too much chips, now that means I haven't had enough sugar, like, it's,
But you could
It's
make
just-
the egg custard and take a package of Splenda, whatever your artificial sweetener is, and
Sweetener or
sprinkle it
whatever.
on the top when it comes out. That makes it sweet, and you can do a little bit of salt, and then it's sweet and salty. It's delicious.
okay.
And it's egg.
Do you
That's
have
excellent,
other
yeah.
people that are successful being vegetarian and
Yeah.
keto?
So one option is to make a tasty flan-like egg custard, and the sugar addiction can affect people who are meatitarian, omnivorian, or vegetarian, but it's cravings and all tend to sort out into sugar. Like, do you eat candy and sweet tea? That's tea in the South. It's sweet tea until otherwise proven. And then, or is it bread? Is it pasta, rice? These foods get digested to the same addictive substance. So it doesn't matter to me biologically which one, but strategically how you substitute for those can be dependent on whether you need something sweet, the sugar-free Jello, the egg custard flan sort of thing, or you need something like a chaffle, which is a bread substitute, and yeah, you want to take it in a few days time, one day at a time. Is the classic alcohol anonymous saying, which is, this is, I would say sugar addiction is a different beast than alcohol addiction, because those with alcohol addiction, the rock bottom means you lose your job, you can't function in society. A sugar addict can function in society, and yeah, it might be a little awkward that you need a double seatbelt on a plane, but it's not making you lose your job and all, so you don't see Overeater Anonymous or Sugar Anonymous groups everywhere like Alcoholic Anonymous, because it doesn't destroy your social life and ability to function like alcohol or other drugs do. So as a kind of social thing, it's more like a tobacco addiction, where nicotine addiction, where you can function. I mean, you just go outside and smoke, you have a job and all that, but the damage is being done, and it's a slow kind of damaging process. But getting off the addictive substance has the same sort of elements to it. You might need to, check into the structure house. I don't know if you have $2,000 a week. But no, it's a great program. I know the director and the doctor. Pardon?
Do they have a keto program?
No, last I checked, they don't have a keto program, but they would, I'm sure, adapt to what they can, but they would allow only less addictive foods, that's for sure.
You have to stay there too.
Well, yeah, structure house, you have to stay on the property. Yeah, in fact, it's a place where you have the apartments in back. So you move to town, stay in their apartment.
It's kind of like The Biggest Loser, because I remember looking into it too, thinking maybe I should go that extreme, because.
So you want to go on the show, The Biggest Loser? Well, it doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
There's a
Yeah.
reason for that.
Yeah.
It's good.
Yeah, the TV, it's like glorification of different approaches, and it's just distorted view my 600-pound life, most of my patients are watch time, and it's an extreme case. It's not what most people go through. But have you noticed that the surgeon tells people to go on a low-carb diet to lose weight before the surgery? It's in the fine print, like they don't. Yeah, well, you need to eat proteins and no carbs, but that's because it's an effective way to do it.
So what, and we need tons of meat. But if she's vegetarian, what will she have as, I mean, it's not still limited to 4 ounces of cheese a day?
Well, the hunger should go down.
The hunger does go down. I mean, when I did it religiously, I would eat like 3 eggs in a day, and then like, I think it's like 6 ounces of cheese, like 3 at lunchtime and 3 at dinner time. But I did eat more veggies. I don't really eat like 2-3 cups of spinach.
I've been eating a dozen eggs, I can tell you that.
Well, so
I
yeah.
can't, that to me doesn't feel like enough food.
Well, this is a good point that the amount of protein you get and the food may be different if you're doing a vegetarian version of a low-carb keto diet. Yeah,
It would be hard.
you may need a little more cheese, a little harder, but the hunger should be suppressed. Having eggs around, you can't eat too many eggs from a health standpoint. So that should be your go-to item, I think.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, after eating too many eggs for too many days, after that it was like, for a period, I just wanted to detox from eggs because I was like sick of making it in every which way. Like, there's only this many ways and I got tired of it, but now I'm like back to liking eggs. So I feel like this is a good time to get back onto it and just go for it.
Well,
Sometimes I have eaten 6 or 7 eggs and then I felt like kind of guilty, but though, like you said, I read that you could eat even 4 dozen eggs a day and still be okay, so.
well, that would be kind of hard logistically to eat 4 dozen eggs, but just the stomach's only so
But it
big.
is cheap, it's easy, it's like keeps you full for a much longer time, like,
So are you connected to the other thing Dr. Tarman insists upon? It's an addiction principle, is you need a group.
that's what it is. I'm not part of any group. I was wondering, is there a local group here? Is that?
Well, but are you on Facebook?
I am on Facebook, but
The low carb.
So the Low Carb Support Group by Dr. Eric Westman.
okay.
The Low Carb Support Group by Dr. Eric Westman. We're talking about internet support. It's an addiction principle that you need to have support. You need a group to get off an addictive substance. We're live streaming into the Low Carb Support Group by Dr. Eric Westman.
Okay.
Our Keto Tree, OUR space Keto, Keto space TREE. We're on the YouTube channels, which don't give you the support, you know, the face-to-face kind of thing. And we're in the Low Carb Support Group by Dr. Eric Westman. Yeah. If you needed extra, like, this is the free support that's given. The Adapter Life Academy, which I'm an owner of, for a small fee, you can get access to other classes and other support.
Could you tell me what is that? Because I think I might be
Yeah, so check out the Adapter Life Academy.
adapter.
Information is there on how to do that.
That will change your life.
Yeah.
And the support that it
Dump
does.
your tantrum.
Yeah, there's a saying,
Yeah, it's just
Just-
my daughter eating the way she does. It's, I'm making pasta in the morning and then it's like just that little bit of leftover pasta is there and then that's just staring you in the face and you eat that one spoon and then the rest of the day is like,
so-
like
How old's your daughter?
she's 12.
She
So-
can cook pasta.
She can.
so one strategy, there's pasta, there's a carb eater in the house, and she likes pasta. You have her make her own pasta,
Yeah.
or you get something called Shirataki noodles.
Oh God,
Have
I
you tried
that. I did not. It was too CBD. Like,
So you have to rinse off the product that I just got a bunch of, and it's pretty good. It's called Miracle Noodles.
okay.
And they even have the ones you put in the microwave for a minute, it's done.
Maybe I just didn't rinse enough. I mean, I tried this in like 2018 because I was like, let me try.
So they're better now.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's the name
So
of
all
that
of it,
noodle that you just said?
Shirataki noodles is the,
Miracle noodle.
Miracle?
yeah,
Is that
so
the same?
let me just give you the whole spiel.
When they come out of the pack.
Shirataki noodles, not shiitake mushroom.
Yeah.
Shirataki noodle, Shirataki, is the generic term for a noodle that is very low in carbs and calories. The story is a doctor was visiting in another country, and they said, "Here, have this." And he said, "Well, what is it?" He said, "Well, it's no calories, no carbs." And basically, it was the shirataki, that plant or the root. So the brand names are Miracle Noodles, Skinny Pasta, and Pasta Zero. In our area, those are the brand names. And you want to know that they're going to be a little fishy, seaweedy smell. You've got to rinse them off. Don't worry, it's not going to taste seaweedy or fishy.
Okay, so maybe I just didn't
Didn't
rinse
rinse
enough, I'm
off enough,
thinking,
yeah.
so I will try it again.
Or have your daughter who insists on having the noodles to rinse off. Well, there's this funny thing. Well, I can't have cauliflower because my husband doesn't like the smell of cauliflower cooking in the. Well,
Have a meat outside.
have a meat outside. Yeah. Well, there's now you can do cauliflower in the microwave. My favorite way to do cauli rice is the way Chef Scott Parker taught me. You chop up a little bit of cauliflower and you put it in the microwave with butter and a little broth, salt and pepper, and so you don't smell it cooking. So there are ways usually around these things. And if you haven't tried it for a few years, the products have all changed. So there's Carb Master yogurt and Too Good yogurt that has 3 carbs. There's 2 grams of sugar. But you always count total carbs, not net, if you want to do prescription strength keto the way I teach it. And I wanted to just reassure you that in the smoking cessation world, lots of studies, on average, it took people 7 times in their quit attempts for it to stick. So you have to try it again, and try it again, try it again with any addiction. And did anyone used to smoke? Yeah. Was it tough to quit? So for some people, it's easy to just lay it down.
Yeah, it's
For
like
some
my
people,
husband-
it's the hardest thing I've ever. So it's fascinating.
I kept a pack of cigarettes unopened on my laundry room shelf for a solid year. And every time I walked through the laundry room, I saw them sitting there and thought, I'm choosing not to smoke it. But I
So-
had it there in case.
So if you're even of a certain psychology, you might have the cigarette pack or the pasta pack there, and you walk by it and you say, I'm not having
I'm
it.
not doing it today.
I'm not doing it. So as a kind of a redoubling of
I've
that.
got popcorn right now, popcorn in a Ziploc, one of those zip bags that you vacuum seal buttered popcorn that I've had since February 12th.
So the popcorn you haven't had.
Hadn't had, but I've got it in my kitchen, sitting on my counter.
Well, talking about popcorn substitutes, have you had the microwave pork rinds?
No.
Yeah, they're called bacon curls, and it's Lowry's, but it's not the same spelling as Lowry's salt. It's Lowry's bacon curls. I mean, if you just go to Amazon and say microwave pork rinds, they'll come up. The last time I purchased, it's been a while, you had to like buy a pack of 10 or a dozen or something. But they're totally worth it. I mean, they pop. You put it in the microwave just like popcorn, and they go.
For Christmas.
And they're warm when they come out. They even crackle in your mouth. So if you need fun with food, try those microwave pork rinds. But then I was searching recently, if you get these little cracklings that are like flat pieces of fat, and you put it in a vat, there's a fellow down in Louisiana who puffs up his own pork rind. I mean, they're coming out like this, so if you really want to up your pork rind game, look up the Louisiana pork rind boil or something. It's pretty amazing. It shows you just how to do it. And pork rinds are fascinating because they have no carbs. Now, I don't like them in terms of their nutritional value. They're really more like a placeholder to not have you put carbs in your mouth. And then, yes, you can eat all the pork rinds you want, but I know you're not going to want much, is the twist on the reality, because you're just not hungry, right? I would say for 9 out of 10 times, the hunger goes down automatically, and you just don't want much. Hope you had some ideas. Let us know how you're doing next month. Yeah, or
Yeah, it's
do a
just,
fun chart.
it just feels good, even just to comment like, and so many people are being so positive and like, wanting to do, are doing right, then you're like,
Yeah.
let me try again, some more.
Yeah, great.
Yeah, I was this close to not even coming, I was like, I'm just being bad, why should I even bother to go? And then I was like, I'm just kidding.
We won't fall flat on our face, don't worry.
So Sandy asked, can you eat shirataki noodles if you have an allergy to shellfish? Yes, I think so. So it's not a shellfish thing. It just smells fishy. Yeah. Of course, go to Miracle Noodles website. If there was a shellfish issue, they would probably have it all over the place. And it's made out of a root from Asia. Interesting story. There was a doctor who kind of scouted out, found it, and brought it back to the U.S. I did want to mention last month, October, Casey Durango, who's usually here with me. Casey couldn't be here tonight. She says hello to everybody. Put on the Keto Getaway, the Go Keto with Casey Getaway in Greensboro, North Carolina. It was great fun. Amy Berger and I were there with Jackie Eberstein, Conrad Eberstein, and Casey and Hernan, but it's Hernan made ribeyes for us for starting at noon in the afternoon, and it was put on by a science museum. So there was a picnic shelter, and it was a beautiful day. We walked around and chatted with stories. There were people drove down from Ontario, from Iowa, came up from Florida. If you get a chance to go to these keto events, we have adapt events. There are other ones like Low Carb USA, Low Carb Denver, the Casey is Keto Getaway, Keto Con, Keto Fest. Again, it's just a way to meet people, and there were a couple highlights were the gal from Florida who said, "Hey, does anyone want to go ziplining?" And we're ziplining. Wait a second. So it turns out they had just put in a zip line across the pond there at the Greensboro Science place. I forget what it's called. And so we rustled together 10 people, and they opened up a slot for us to add in. They were very nice to accommodate us. And so we got to see Amy Berger do her first zip lining ever, and she had a great time. Although, I have to, it's been a while since I did the zip lining. I've done it a few times. One of the most unnatural things to do is to step off the platform onto nothing. I have to imagine jumping out of a plane is 10 times worse than that, but I never want to do that, jump out of a plane. But so, you're harnessed up and all this, and we had a great time doing the zip lining. And also for those who couldn't do zip lining, there was a carousel that was, an old, 1900-ish carousel that we went around on, and Conrad Eberstein really enjoyed that. He didn't do the zip lining, and he was like, no way.
But if you want to see Dr. Westman zip line, I have a video.
And videos were taken, but they've been suppressed. We had a challenge to see who could scream the loudest. That's why I did that.
How long did it last? How long was the zip line?
So, this zip line, I would say, it was 30 seconds going across. And then we came back a different direction. Yeah, so we went across the pond and then back. 30 is probably maybe stretching it. 20 seconds.
That quick?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's fast. I did it. I had the opportunity to do the zip line over Fremont Street in Las Vegas on my 65th birthday. And that was such a thrill, and it lasted 45 seconds.
So ziplining in Las
It
Vegas.
was so fun.
There is another a place up in near Boone that I went through some years ago, where you're in the treetops.
Yeah,
And then
as
you go-
long as you could do it.
You would go across this big valley, and you know the bottom just drops out, and man, that was something.
I kind of want to do that.
And you know,
And you also like rappel down, where you just drop and come to the next floor down or whatever, like.
well, so not all keto events have these sort of things, but it was fun because there were some people who it was their first time getting back into doing something like that, and it's just so fun to see people regaining life and vitality they thought they never would have back. And just to reassure you, the U.S. rules about ziplining, you have the helmet, you have all these different harnesses, and then there's a break at the end, so there's no risk for you to go back and forth and all this. I mean, it's funny, you can Google this. Oh my God, you're gonna die! No, you know, the legal teams in the U.S. have figured out ways to reduce liability and make it safer. Now, unlike if you go on the low carb cruise next time, you go down to Mexico somewhere, God only knows the safety there. But so we weren't doing anything, you know, unnecessarily risky. And just along those lines, that someone again today was like, and that my doctor said that keto diet, that's just, it's not safe. So I have all the foods up on the wall now in a poster. In fact, I think I'll bring a copy and have a raffle or something to give it away, because when you look, it's just food. It's not risky. It's not, you know, so that's where diet doctor might have the right answer, which is to not use that term, to get away from the term that has a bad perception, and to come up with you know, foods that give satiety. It's the same foods, it's just different name, you know. But so I don't, you know, I got started researching this 24 years ago. I wouldn't use anything that wasn't safe as a doctor, and most doctors just don't know about it, so they assume it's bad. And then they hear this term, think, well, the only time I've heard of keto is, oh, ketoacidosis. And so it goes immediately to the amygdala, must be bad, knee-jerk reaction sort of thing. But any other?
I have a little story that will just support something you were talking about how many eggs you could eat. And it's how I was introduced to keto way back in the 70s. There was a guy that I knew fairly well who lived across the street from me. We were just graduating from college, and this guy weighed probably 350, 375. He was a big boy.
So hang on just a sec. The story is coming of how you got into keto some years ago, and about something to do with eggs, and
Okay,
there was this fellow who was 350 pounds, and
yeah, 350 pounds, maybe 375. And he picked up Atkins' book when it first came out. Well, he just graduated from college. He didn't have much money. So he was trying to figure out how to do it cheap. So for 2 years, he didn't eat anything. He ate a dozen eggs and a pound of bacon every day. Lost 200 pounds in about a year, a little over a year.
so this friend, it was a friend,
A friend of mine,
someone
yeah.
you knew, a friend
And
just ate bacon and
I
eggs.
asked him how he did it.
For a
and
couple of
he
years.
told me, and he showed me the Atkins book.
Yeah.
I mean, at that point, I only needed to lose 15 pounds, maybe. I got the book, and I wanted to do it. So
Yeah.
through the years, I've had a love-hate relationship with keto. I get on it, and then I get off and on it. And I think now I finally realized I can't get back off of it. I have to stay on it.
Well, but so yeah, so don't fear the eggs. Eggs and bacon would be a healthy thing for a while. In fact, the carnivore subtype of low carb is looking pretty good. If you had liver and you know, kidney and you know, the whole organism, I think it looks nutritionally fine. And the other thing about eggs, I'm sure today people would say, well, that man's cholesterol would have killed him, right?
Right.
No, yeah, so cholesterol gets better. And even then, there was a case study of this man who ate a bunch of eggs every day. He was like in his 80s, and his cholesterol was low, his blood cholesterol. So the amount of cholesterol you eat has very little to do with the cholesterol in the blood, actually. And it might raise the HDL, might raise the LDL, definitely lowers the triglyceride, which is probably the most important thing. So the unsung enemy that no one talks about in the blood is the triglyceride. It's too high. You want to make sure that's low. And then, so just as we're wrapping up, remember we use a keto, low carb keto diet, properly formulated to treat and reverse obesity, diabetes, polycystic ovary syndrome, fatty liver, heartburn, pretty much goes away in everybody. And food, good food really is medicine. In the words of Rob Lustig, who I saw at a meeting, he did Sugar, the Bitter Truth, has this book called Metabolical, which I just looked at in detail. Thank you for reminding me. Great book, Metabolical. He ended his talk recently saying, you've heard food is medicine? No. Good food is medicine. Bad food requires medicine. Whoa! That's classic Dr. Lustig, because he loves kind of grandiose sayings like that. But Metabolical, the book basically says in order to fix health, you need to fix food. In order to fix food, you need the food industry to change. So that is a very interesting book that pretty much nails from many different angles, including very sophisticated detail about the cellular mechanisms that can go over my head pretty quickly. But so if you want to really impress doctors with knowledge, and then get the connection between the food industry, the ultra-processed food they create, the bad health, and the public policy fixes for that, it runs that whole gamut, which is kind of an ambitious task, but I think Dr. Lustig pulled it off really well. You have to admit there are some sections in there that are pretty in the weeds about cellular metabolism, right?
Well, yeah, but by the time you listen to it 3 times, it starts to really make sense.
So if you listen to it 3 times, it really
I've gotten 4 or 5 of his books.
Yeah, good.
He writes in a humorous way,
Yeah.
I believe. I laugh a lot when I'm listening to him.
Yeah.
But he's excellent in that metabolic.
Yeah, a little too many Games of Thrones metaphors in there, and I'm just catching up. So I haven't watched much of it. So, but anyway, that's a great book. And then the other book that came out recently called Brain Energy is the tying together mental health as a brain energy problem. So mental illness is because the brain isn't getting enough energy generally, and it manifests in different ways. Chris Palmer, who's a psychiatrist at Harvard, wrote and published this book, or wrote it and now has it out this fall. You'll see him out on the circuit. I think he's going to be able to bring mental health attention to diet. And then, of course, in small print in there was the patient at Duke. He changed the name. It wasn't Doris, but he mentions how even schizophrenia can be fixed. And for those of you who are new, we had a very regular attendee here whose mental illness, it was a schizophrenia-like hallucinations, mental illness went away. We published a case report, and Dr. Palmer and Dr. Seppi at Stanford picked up on that and had their own experiences. Sadly, Doris passed of COVID earlier this year, but she was a regular attendee here for years. And yes.
Dr. Edie, is that how you say her last name?
Georgia Eid?
Yes.
Another psychiatrist.
Lady. She's been doing the research on bipolar in the keto diet.
Great.
She's found some very interesting correlations between that. So that kind of ties in with the other two.
Yeah, so the 3 psychiatrists I think of today, Georgia Eid, E-D-E,
Okay.
Shivani Sethi, S-E-T-H-I, is at Stanford doing research there. And then Christopher Palmer at Harvard just wrote this book, Brain Energy. Yeah, Dr. Eid collaborated with a doctor in Toulouse, France, and Dr. Danon put many of his patients on the ward in his hospital and fed them the keto diet and found improvements in just about everyone. Not total resolution, but improvements. And for mental illness, it's that requires hospitalization. That's really pretty amazing.
Have you read Dr. Bickman's book on why we get sick?
Yeah, so Dr. Ben Bickman has a book called Why We Get Sick.
Concerns a lot about insulin resistance.
And so his unifying theory is insulin resistance as being a cause for many of these things.
Yeah, and then if we measured it much sooner than doctors are aware of, you could tell 10 years in advance that somebody's going to likely be diabetic.
Yeah, and I'm just repeating just for, if you measure things even 10 years before a clinical manifestation, you can find insulin resistance, but you have to look for it, especially. Yeah, so Ben Bickman has kind of brought forward information and the science that really started with Jerry Reven in the 1980s, but it's rehashing and saying the same thing in modern terms, and that has to be done. That it has to come out in a new language, new version, new people, which is great. Yeah, Ben Bickman, Why We Get Sick. Why We Get Sick is great. Bickman is Bickman. Yeah,
he's excellent.
Yeah. Great. Well, I think, let me see if there's any pressing question here. I hope you were able to watch. Yes, oh, you know, I had an update from the food delivery program that we started. We have about a dozen people getting lightly expired frozen meats and some pork rinds, and well, unless they're vegan pork rinds in disguise. That happened once. The med students were a little embarrassed about that when they looked. It was said porkless pork rinds, not. But anyway, I called Shelley, who kind of started the program off last year, and in 8 weeks of us delivering food on Saturdays, she was off of 600 units of insulin. And so she now, I just talked to her today, she's down 120 pounds off all of her diabetes medicines. Her husband has lost 140 pounds off all of his insulin and diabetes medicine. And her mom is down about 35 pounds or so. She's not quite as strict, I guess. But what a win for a program that really was just giving an example of what you should eat. Every Saturday we deliver for the week, here's what you eat. The tough thing is there's some people who can't not just eat that food. The sugar addicts, the folks who just don't quite understand that a little piece of bread, it's just a little piece of bread, or it's just half an apple. I mean, or that really matters. The detail. If you're trying to reverse diabetes, you're on a big weight loss journey, you have to be super strict in order for your body to burn fat. And I want to end on a metaphor that I'm working on with Casey Durango. Actually, Casey wrote the blog, and then in her way, she reminded me that really I just took her metaphor and called it mine. But I had to, because then it took time, and now I call it ours. But we built on the similar concept. So you imagine that your body fat, we store energy as fat, is a log. And we're talking about a fire now. There's a log on the fire. It's hard to get it started to burn, right? Once it burns, you get a lot of heat and all. So your body fat, really, your body wants to hold on to it. It doesn't want to give it up. And it's going to burn the alcohol and the carbs. If you're having any carbs, you're going to have to burn that first before your body pitches in the fat. So that's why I want you to be super strict if you're trying to lose your body fat, that you don't eat any sugar or starch, drink sugar or starch. So your body will just kind of naturally allow you to eat its own fat. So back to the fire. The log, if you have paper, you have pine straw, you have pine cones, and you're feeding it to the fire, what happens? So carbs are in the body are kind of like paper in the fire. You got to burn it. The paper is whoosh, whoosh. And in the North Carolina version, it's the pine straw and the pine cones. Put that in the fire. The log's not going to burn, right? So stop eating the paper. I mean the carbs. Stop putting the paper on the fire. Your body will automatically burn the log. And once the log gets burning, you don't need to add any more fire, paper or pine straw. So Casey sent me the blog where she talked about this. It's a great read. Go Keto with Casey, talking about looking at a fire and thinking about carb burning. And so alcohol is really kind of like lighter fluid on the fire. You got to burn that first. Not that it's forbidden. A lot of people learn internet keto and are happy to see that you might be able to have 1 drink or 2 per day and still be keto. And then I pull out the diabetes book from 1923 where they prescribed alcohol because it lowers the blood glucose level a little bit. So alcohol is not forbidden, you just have to be able to moderate it. But so you got the alcohol is the lighter fluid, paper, pine cones, pine straw is the carbs, and then the log is going to burn. Isn't that a great metaphor? Yeah, I like that a lot. And thank you, Casey. Thanks, Casey.
Thanks, Casey.
Yeah, if you're watching, thanks, Casey. And well, we'll see you next month. You know, I didn't know about you, but I woke up today thinking it's the first Tuesday of the month. Oh my gosh, it's so quick. The days are getting shorter, and it seems like time goes by. So I hope that's helpful. You can get this. You can do this. And until next time, bye-bye, everybody.